What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, coming to you with a very late edition, super late. You can look at my eyes and see how late it is, of Ask FP. I said I was going to bring this to you guys on Saturday. Things got crazy, got pushed back with Triple G Golovkin, the NBA 2K18 review, which I already put out, FIFA 18, which I'm starting my evaluation on. Crazy, 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 but good crazy. Still good. I got some stuff before I even get into the questions that I want to talk about. Ultimate Legends roster 4. Well, no, let's back up some. Triple G Canelo. We got to talk about Triple G Canelo. I thought it was a very good fight. Very nice balance of action and strategy was there. I thought it was really good. I came away very impressed with Gennady Golovkin, and I was not on the Gennady Golovkin train like a lot of people. I felt that his opposition had been weak leading up to this point, unless you kind of give a little bit more credit to Danny Jacobs. But he really proved himself to me in this fight against Canelo. I thought he fought well. For anybody that did not see the fight was ruled a draw. Many people had an issue with the scorecards, primarily Adelaide Bird's scorecard had Canelo winning 118-110, which was ridiculous. There's no way in the world he or anybody won this fight by 8 points. Now, I could kind of understand one of the other scorecards. I think it was turned in by Dave Moretti, who had Don Trella. Dave Moretti had it 115-113 for Golovkin, which I definitely can understand. But Don Trella had to score 114-114, a draw. So that's how the fight ended up being a split draw. I scored the fight 114-114. But I will say this. If Golovkin had been given the decision, I would not have had an issue with it. I'd have been like, okay, yeah, makes sense. I don't see a way that you could give Canelo this fight. I don't. I thought that he won the first 3 rounds. I thought that Golovkin took control of the middle rounds. I thought Canelo looked tired by about the 5th or the 6th, and it looked like he was just looking to fight in spurts. And then I felt that he did kind of muster up enough strength to finish somewhat strong, and maybe he took the last 3 rounds, and that's perhaps how we ended up with the draw. So there it is. I mean, but like a lot of those rounds were close, could have gone either way. So you never know. But yeah, that scorecard was ridiculous. So, but here's the thing: even if she had scored the fight 115-113 for Canelo, we still end up with a draw. So it's kind of, the gap, though it looks crazy, doesn't really matter all that much, right? All right, so let's move on and talk about Ultimate Legends roster 4. I am going to do it. We know that the create a player system for NBA 2K18 is not ideal. We're still waiting to see what will happen if we can get a patch for that and the whole 9. But overall, outside of that, a couple other little small presentation things, I love NBA 2K18. And I really hope that they don't patch anything with this gameplay. The game is so fun right now. It is insane how fun the game is. And I'm not even talking about just in regular mode. I'm talking about in playground is better. And you guys know I don't play park and playground. That's better. The gameplay in my team is better. Even Blacktop, I played a one-on-one game between Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard today. That was awesome. So the gameplay's great. Gameplay's great. Looks great. I'm very pleased with it. Check out the review that I tweeted out a little bit earlier. I tweeted out the review on Forbes, and I will also be doing a video review as well. So you guys be on the lookout for that one. But as far as the Ultimate Legends roster 4, I'm going to do it. There's still some holes in the all-time teams that 2K put out. I'm very happy, very pleased that they gave me a shout out when they talked about it. So it is what it is with that. Like I said, I'm still going to do the roster. I've already started on it. And what I'm also going to do is Junior and I were doing our Legends tournament. So we decided today that we were going to continue the Legends tournament we were just going to do it on NBA 2K18. So I'm going to start up a playoff bracket, the whole nine, just like we had. I'm going to pick up where we left off, where we were with the 2K17 Legends tournament, and we're going to pick it up right from there and do our own and do it on the on 2K18. So that should be pretty cool. So essentially, those teams are the ones I'm going to make first, the ones that are still alive in our Legends tournament, and I'll make the other ones as we go from there. So it should be pretty fun. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into these questions. Don't have that many of them this week. You guys, if you do want to ask a question, make sure you use the hashtag AskFP, because some of the other stuff I may miss. So if you hashtag AskFP, I have a column set up kind of for that, and I'll make sure that I always get them. But yeah. All right, let's go. First question comes from Gabriel Pradia Hunt. He says, if you were a pro athlete, would you go out of your way to make sure your face was scanned for a video game? I am obviously a big gamer, so that might be something that I would do just because I'm a gamer. But if you're not a gamer, I can kind of see how somebody might just be like, well, I don't care one way or the other. A lot of times that's why some of those players, they need like their kids to be like, hey, Dad, I want you to be in a game or whatever. In order for them to, care, some of the retired players. But for me as a pro, if I was a pro athlete and love games the way I do, oh, absolutely. I'd be like, hey, where's the line at to get scanned? And I want it to look right. So that's just me. All right, next question comes from James Livingston. He says, do you think that Deontay Wilder will be a #1 heavyweight if he KOs Luis Ortiz? So anybody that doesn't know, November 4th, Deontay Wilder will be taking on Luis Ortiz, which should be the toughest fight of his career. I don't think winning that fight makes him the #1 heavyweight. Anthony Joshua was holding that down right now. He beat Vladimir Klitschko. He is, he's a champion. He's a two-division champion. Two-time world champion in regards to for two different governing bodies, basically. Deontay Wilder's holding the WBC title, and I would definitely it would definitely be Joshua 1, Wilder 2, but I pretty much think it's pretty much that way now. So I think the only way for him to take that #1 spot from Anthony Joshua is to beat him, to fight him and beat him. I think that'll happen if Joshua beats Kubrat Pulev, which most of us expect him to do, and if Wilder gets past Luis Ortiz, I can't see what other fight would be put ahead of that particular fight. All right. Next question is from Jared Young. He says, how good do you think D'Angelo Russell can be now that he is the guy in Brooklyn? Is he an all-star this season? No, I don't think he's an all-star this season. Remember, Jeremy Lin is there too, and Jeremy Lin is going to he's going to put up some decent numbers this year too. D'Angelo Russell, the thing that always has scared me about him is that he is not a great athlete. He's not a blow-by-you athlete. So he has a difficult time sometimes creating his own shot. He's going to really have to get good at managing and playing off of the screen and roll so that he can create some space for himself with the screen that other players might be able to do off the bounce. So I don't know. I mean, I think he could be an 18-point-a-game guy, but I just don't see him as an all-star. Not at this point. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I don't see that. All right, next question is from Ty Bud. He says, with 2K18's lack of facial customization and the additions of the all-time teams, it seems like your content was targeted, no? I don't know if I would use the word targeted. I definitely think my content was recognized, which is the reason why they put in the all-time teams. I don't know that they would have said, well, okay, let's create a player bad so people like Brian can't create good creative players. I don't know what the benefit really of that is for them. I don't think that's the case. I think what I really think is that they call themselves making creative players quote unquote better by using scanned face templates as opposed to the other type of creative players that give you more options, but the players don't look quite as realistic. I think now they know, based off the feedback that they've been receiving since since the creative player, the lack of options were made public. I think what they're realizing now is that fans of the content, the content creating fans would prefer to have control over the way a player looks, as opposed to saying, oh, hey, I got a realistic looking model, that looks like a human being, but it still don't look like the guy I'm trying to make, sort of thing. So I don't think that I was targeted, no. Next question comes from Jared Huff. He says, did any of the 2K devs give you a reason for the cap changes? No, they did not specifically give me a reason, but based off of what I know from game development, what I know about the tech that is required to do or perform creative players, and some slight, I don't want to say hints, but reading in between the lines of when you talk to a developer, that's why I believe they just simply made a choice to try to use scanned face templates. And I think that is at the root of the lack of customization options that we have. All right, the next question is from Jared Young, and he says, how good do you think Jahlil Okafor can be? And which team do you think could use him? Well, anybody or any team that is looking for a low post scoring threat could use Jahlil Okafor. The problem, I think, with him is that his style of game is one that the NBA is somewhat moving past. They want versatile big men. They don't necessarily covet the bigs who have to play with their basket back to the basket. They're more plotting. He's not an excellent athlete. So I think Jahlil Okafor is a lot like Zach Randolph, Al Jefferson type of a player. And, you don't see those guys as highly coveted players anymore. And I think even though they get numbers, just like Jahlil Okafor will, I don't know how many people are going to be beating down the Sixers' door to try to acquire him. Right. Our next question comes from Weston Flores. He says, why do wrestling fans tend to go for in-ring work instead of storytelling today? I don't know. I think fans are just more interested in the athleticism and not as much the story. Back in the day, story was everything. Most of those guys were horrible in the ring. They had like 5 moves: punch, a body slam, a kick to the stomach, a headbutt, and an elbow drop. That was like it, right? Now you see so many fighters who have, so many wrestlers who have these wide, crazy, athletic move sets, but many of them just are terrible on the mic. So that's why we have an uneven WWE product right now, because you just don't see anybody who is able to really sell themselves on the mic. You got a few people, the Bray Wyatts and stuff like that, but most are more athlete than they are a character. And I think that's the major issue there. All right, our next question comes from Gabriel Padilla Hunt again. He says, hi, I have been able to make players fairly quickly in 2K18. Do you think that was the intention for this new cap system? Well, I definitely think speed might have been a factor, but I don't think that it was like the deciding factor. I don't think they were like, hey, this is what we're trying to do with cap. We're trying to speed it all up. I think that the reason why it's sped up, Gabriel, is because you don't spend hardly any time on the face, because there's only so much that you can do with the face. So you go directly to the ratings and the signature stuff, because you really don't have a lot that you can do in terms of face sculpting. So I think that's the culprit involved there. And this next question is also from Gabriel Padilla. And he says, what do you think is the best classic team in NBA 2K18, excluding the all-time squads? That's a good question, Gabriel. I thought about this for a minute, but now don't get me wrong, because I'm not trying to say that this is overall the best team of everybody that's included, like in terms of referencing real NBA action. But in terms of just the way the game is played and things like that, and the skill levels of certain players, it's hard for me to find a team that is better than the 13-14 Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, all 3 of those guys are really tough to check, and they can all shoot the 3, not to mention a couple other players on their team. That's a really, really tough team, especially if you're playing against somebody that really knows what they're doing. All right. Next question. Actually, this is the final question. Told you it wasn't a lot this time. This one's also from Gabriel. He says, since you are from Chicago, how did you feel when Dwayne Wade signed with the Bulls last year? To be honest, Gabriel, I was a little bit kind of torn because while I was happy that a Chicago basketball player, a Chicago high school product was coming to play for the Bulls, and also we're talking about a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, the best shooting guard over the past 10 years in the NBA, was coming to my team. So yeah, there was some excitement, but there was also some, a little bit of skepticism because I'm looking at, how old Dwayne Wade is, and I knew that he did not fit the Bulls roster. So I knew that it wasn't necessarily going to work on the court. And then at that point, I started to get worried a little bit about how things would happen or be handled in the locker room, and that proved to be an issue. I think there was a report maybe about a month or so ago of how the Bulls rookies were fed up with Dwayne Wade and they just did not like the way he carried himself. So it didn't work out well. But all of those negative things were things that I had on my, just thinking about with acquiring Dwayne Wade. But then on the positive side, I'm like, wow, that's Dwayne Wade going to play for the Bulls. So clearly, like I said, it did not work out though, and I don't expect